Us recording. Okay, we're on tape now.
Okay, so I see Sherry, Joan, MJ, Larry, Mark.
Joan, can you see Joan?
Oh, okay, let me call the roll call.
Okay, great.
Catherine Zemechnik. Nick Webb,
Here, present.
Bertram Schmitz,
Here.
Lawrence Willett,
Here.
Mark Giaconia,
Here.
Joan Uladi,
Here.
Mary Jo Phelps.
Here.
Okay,
So I didn't hear, is Catherine not here?
no, she's not here.
Okay. All right, cool.
Oh, yes.
Oh, Kathy's here now.
I mean, after I went out there and I picked up those dumpsters myself and I carried them to the far edge of the parking lot.
Is that what we're discussing right now?
We just did roll call.
Yeah, well, you missed two dumpsters, it's still there.
All right. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. We've taken attendance. I think we've got some really good news about the land acquisition. I think we're making real progress on that. I'll let Mark fill us all in at a later time. And we'll keep the main part of the meeting brief again, just so that we can spend some time on this land acquisition. I met with Carl on this along with Mike Hood on Friday. And so I'll fill everybody in on that as well. First order of business is to approve the minutes from the last meeting. Can I get a motion to approve them, or are there any changes that need to be made?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of the October meeting.
So
Bert
that's
seconds.
Phil. Who was the second? Oh, okay, Bert. Thank you, Bert. All right, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Abstain.
Kathy.
Oh, yeah, because you were not there, right, Kathy?
Yeah, I'm gonna abstain too, because I
Okay.
haven't had an opportunity to see those. And, if I could, if you could send me another copy, I don't know why I didn't, it didn't seem to come up on any of my emails.
Okay, I may have one here.
That would be great.
I can give it after the meeting.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Abby Pearsall should be joining us.
It looks like she's,
Abby Pearsall, our town planner, is on the phone with us.
Oh, awesome.
I'm here. I'm just trying to get my sound to work appropriately, but I'm here.
okay, yeah, I'm in a hotel room with very, very poor internet. So if I start to lose you guys, I will take the camera off and hopefully that'll help. Just as a comment. So we've done that. I've done some chair comments. Administrative review, let's get on to the workshops. Pollinator Pathway Project. The only thing I have to report on that is that Sherry Smith and Sue Kelly did another presentation at the library on the project and got 14 people there. And there was pretty enthusiastic take up on the pollinator pathway. I am going to try and get her slides, Sherry's slides, and send them out to everybody so you guys have them. Apparently, it was quite focused on the work and how to do it rather than the why do you need a pollinator pathway project. So I always find that listening to Sherry and Sue is I learn something every time I do. So we'll do that. Residential food composting. MJ, do you want to talk about the library?
Well, and you know, I brought your countertop thing to pull the names, and of course it's out of my car. But, yeah, a few of us, Nick and, Sue from Sustainability did a shift. And, Brett Martin and I did a shift, and then I did a shift by myself. But we talked to a lot of people and gave out some flyers, and we have a bunch of names and phone numbers of folks who Nick donated a countertop composting.
Whoa. I'm going to expense that countertop.
Oh, you are, all right, so then that's fine, whatever. That was available for raffle. And we have all the names and the phone numbers inside of the composting can, and I was supposed to pull one, but I don't know if can I leave the meeting, Sherry, and come back with the?
Yeah, we have a forum.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I think it would be fun.
great. People were receptive. Most people seem to know, but I don't know when you had your turn, Nick, if most people still don't seem to know about the meat, you know, the bones and the shellfish and all that. They don't seem to know about that part.
I actually had very few. I had a couple, maybe 4 or 5 that were aware that something was going on in Clinton. They didn't really know about
Okay.
it.
Okay.
But there were a lot of people it was brand new information for. And I would say
Okay.
that generally
That's good.
people
That's
were
why we're
positive.
doing it.
Yeah.
Right, yes, yeah, although I also learned a lot of people from other towns use our library.
That's true. I
There
learned
were
that
a
too.
lot of people from Westbrook and a lot of people from Killingwood. And they're like, you know, so I started asking, oh, do you live in town? No, yeah, no, all right. So we're the library, we are the town with the great library.
Yeah, there's some good libraries, and apparently you can use any of the libraries sort of like in the general vicinity.
Right.
So
Right.
that's kind of nice, actually.
It was, I was surprised by how many people from other towns we said. But
And if you haven't gone to the library,
reception was great.
yeah, if you haven't gone to the library recently, then you've missed the chicks. They've already been shipped out. So they incubated, I don't know, 10 chicks, and
Oh,
those have now been shipped out to a farm, I believe.
so I'm just gonna step it up real quick and go get that
Okay, great, thank you.
name. for
We're
you.
just gonna run through
Sure.
Japanese knotweed. I don't think there's anything to report, unless Kathy, you've got anything?
No,
Okay,
not at all.
okay, so we can move on from that. The open space set aside subcommittee. I think we're still sort of, since we're going down this other path right now with land acquisition, I think we haven't really done anything in terms of a subcommittee on this, so we'll pass that up. That gets us to old business. So we're probably a month away from putting out information on the infrared camera at the library. And I would be happy to draw up something that we could put. I'll have the library announce it. I'll have it go on Nextdoor, and I'll have it go All Things Clinton. If anybody else has any ideas of where that could go, that would be great. But yeah, no, I think it's important that the people know that that infrared camera exists. So I will check it out. I'll take some pictures and then put together a little flyer on it. Next piece of old business is the land acquisition open space plan. Abby, that's got your name attached to it? Actually, your role?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just on as a placeholder until folks are ready to start that project in earnest. So I think, when you guys tell me you're set to start thinking about it, we'll put together something a little more formal on it. But until then, it seems like the effort has been more in the one particular property and really kind of focusing energy there. So just keep me posted. I think you guys typically keep things on your agenda as placeholders. So
Exactly. Yep.
yeah.
Okay, cool. Man, we're ripping through this. The request for funding for Connecticut River Coastal Conservation District. I thought we voted to fund that at $100 or $50 or something. Sherry,
You were gonna check to make sure it was in the budgets before
it
we,
is in the budget.
okay, for this year.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, you should probably, I don't know if we did a motion before, so you should probably do a motion to.
Okay. So we've got, I think it was either $250 or $300 for donations to aligned groups in our budget. So can I have a motion to make a donation to the Connecticut River Coastal Conservation District?
Absolutely, I'll make that motion. $50 donation to
Connecticut River
Coastal.
Conservation District Inc.
Yeah, I'll second that.
All right. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All abstentions? All right, that motion carries and we can get that done. Great. Is that MJ that came back?
It is.
So why don't we take a moment, and I think it would be great to have Sherry as our non-aligned, yeah.
Brown and white. It can be a brown and white shirt.
Draw the winning ballot.
The winner is
William Cook, in Clinton.
William.
Excellent.
Congratulations, William. All right. So, great.
Okay, so William Cook has won a countertop compost container. That's great.
That's a compost kit.
Yeah, it's a countertop composter. It's got a, what I love, ours has that too, is charcoal on the top, so the odor absorbs the odor, yeah.
And the person who won was William Cook, was that?
William Cook, yeah, on Norwood Drive, yeah.
That's great. It's very exciting. Okay. So that's that. New business. I did send out the budget to everybody as well. Oh, hang on a sec. Let me read the. So additions to the next regular meeting agenda, first Wednesday, December 6th. Oh, so next month, it's the first Wednesday, not the second Wednesday, Sherry?
Right, that's because ZBA moves from the third Wednesday back because of the holiday.
Okay,
We'd like to meet the day before the meeting, the day before the holiday.
cool, great.
So just for that month.
Okay, and that's a big one because that's when we get election of officers and the annual review of bylaws. So if everybody could make a real effort on that, that would be great. Gosh, I hope I'm not traveling that week. On a second note, just in terms of housekeeping, I did send out, I believe I sent out to everybody the budget for next year or suggested budget. I was looking for feedback as well as the annual report.
Oh, I saw the annual report, I don't know that I saw the budget itself. I saw the annual. Oh, finally.
Yeah, I also got the annual report, I don't have.
Oh, you didn't get the budget? Okay, so I got a couple comments on the annual report that I will incorporate into the annual report, and I'm gonna get that out. Sherry or Abby, do you know when that thing is due?
There's no particular date, but they generally want it as soon as possible.
Done.
Yeah, I
So
think the annual reports technically were due, or we're gonna be to the 14th of November, and budget is a hard December 4th deadline.
Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do is I will submit the annual report, get that in. I'll do a quick pass on it this weekend. And I will send out the budget. I swore I sent it out, but I'm gonna send it out again.
Yeah, I remember getting it.
So,
So I think I printed it.
so if
Yeah,
everybody,
it was sent out, I think, right close to the email for the annual report.
it was,
I don't know why, but not all of them, but a lot of your emails go into my junk folder. So I'll think we get something and that's where it is.
Kathy,
It's found budget.
I'm a little insulted.
October 22nd.
So here's what I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna send it out one more time when I get home. Which is gonna be Friday night, or I'll probably send it out Saturday. If I can get any suggestions, changes, updates back to me before we submit it, that would be great.
Yeah, I don't even have an email from you on the 27th,
You know-
except for the
It's
food
20
scraps, thing that we worked on.
Yeah, you were the third person listed.
Okay, you know what, MJ, you have,
It said budget, but there's no budget in here. It's,
I have two email addresses for you, MJ, so maybe I'm sending it to the old one.
The total was 1,150, is that the budget?
Oh, here it is right here.
Right, 11:50.
Okay, I have it too, I just pulled it up.
Sorry.
Okay.
I don't have it.
It was in that 1022 email.
It was,
Yeah.
it was,
Right,
You gotta go to the very top.
yeah,
The first item on the top of that, and that'll bring you to it.
this is just me stick on. Okay.
Okay, but in order, let's have everybody look it over and feedback any information to me.
Yeah.
Very- Okay. Sherry, is there any correspondence?
no correspondence.
Okay, so I can't review it because I don't have it.
Okay, we did get a notice that the Kakiwek meeting
So.
is coming up.
Then.
Anyway,
I don't know, it's
that's
a.
actually a
long
really
meeting.
good one. And I think we pay for people to go to that if they want to, right, Sherry?
Yeah. Yes, we do. We can
Um,
pay for like one or two people to go.
It's
Yeah.
really, it's this all day event and you go and you can go to different seminars on different subjects relating to inland wetlands and conservation commissions. It's really great. I just need a weekend without a commitment.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, but
I just,
if anybody would like to go, just send Sherry and me a note. And we'll get you signed up and get you there. Okay,
yeah, that sounds interesting.
Right,
But
I'll
it's
send
this
it out.
Saturday, right?
is it this Saturday?
I thought it was the 16th.
Oh,
Oh, no, wait, no, not the 16th. Today's the 8th. On the 16th.
there was an early deadline, but we didn't get it out. We didn't.
okay.
Anyway,
Can you tell me where it is?
It's going to be in Berlin. I believe it's Berlin.
Oh.
Or is it Bristol?
They pick only the finest places. You know, if they made it in Vegas or something,
Hey, Nick, if I may, if we could go back to 4A sub 4, which was the open space set aside subcommittee. I just wanted to state that Abby, are you there? Abby?
she's here.
Well,
Yep.
Oh, okay. If you recall, at the end of the last meeting, you and I, sat after the meeting for a few minutes, and we went over the proposal that we were gonna give to the P and Z subcommittee to consider on the 10% set aside. I think it was the criteria they used to select, groups that they would provide the 10% set aside to, and you were gonna work on that, and then, you and I were gonna get together on that. I just wanted to bring us up to date. Isn't that correct? Is that where we were on that?
Yeah, it's just we've got to find some time to fit that in. So I would say the regulations committee for P and Z didn't have a November meeting. So the next one is the first Thursday in December. So I think if we can pull that together for then, it's not going to take long for me to craft that language.
That's
It's just,
great.
getting it to him for that meeting.
Once you crack it, could you send me a copy and I'll take a look
Yep.
at it? Well, and I'm also gonna bring it up with the Clinton Land Trust because they're also interested in looking at it and or suggesting modifications because they're interested in it since they're involved in receiving set asides.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right, that's it. Thank you.
You are most welcome. So with that, and I see somebody, I couldn't tell who it was. But it sounds like we had a member of the joint land acquisition.
Yes, Mike Castiglione.
Okay, great. And I know that Mike Hood said he was not going to be here.
Correct.
Okay, can we just go back to one quick business?
Of
The
course,
annual report.
Yes.
Are you ready? I think everybody reviewed it. Are you ready to do a motion to accept it?
Oh, yeah. Can we make a motion to accept the annual report as passed around?
Yeah, I'll make the motion. I saw it was a nice report.
Okay, great. Is there a second?
I'll second. Or
Okay. Great. So can we have a quick vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All abstentions? Okay, so that passes. So I can submit that. Sherry, I was going to send that to you, Abby, and Mary Shatino. Is that correct?
No, you're just gonna send it to Joan Lewis.
Joan Lewis. I don't know.
She
Joan.
is the councilman's clerk.
Yeah, if you get it to us,
Administrative.
we'll get it to the right
Yeah.
place.
Okay, let me get it
Yeah,
to you
you can
guys.
send it
you
to
get
us.
Whoever. Okay, great. So I will do that this weekend. Unfortunately, that is sitting on my laptop at home and I won't be home till late Friday. Okay. So at this point, we will begin the joint land acquisition subcommittee meeting. So I saw Mike is there. Is there anybody else from Clinton Land Trust or is that going to be it?
just me today.
Okay, great. So that means that on the subcommittee, we've got Mark, Larry, Mike Castiglione. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Close. And myself. So we've got 4 out of 5. So that is a quorum. So the first order of business is to review and approve the minutes of the October subcommittee meeting. Can we get that done, please? Can somebody make a motion?
No,
No.
Sherry, that was gonna be your first.
They're part of the October 13th minutes at the end of the regular meeting.
And those are the ones I don't have, that you're gonna give it to me?
No, this was last month. Last month's minutes.
Yeah, I didn't have the minutes, and if they're part of those minutes,
Yes, they're part of the regular meeting
Okay.
minutes.
I can't, act on it either, because I haven't seen.
Okay, do you want to table them?
Yeah, why don't we table the minutes, Nick, until next meeting, and, Sherry, if you could, provide us, I don't know why, but I didn't get that, and did you indicate that? You did?
I probably got it, but I don't remember what we wrote.
Okay, we'll just table them to December.
Okay,
Okay.
and Sherry, you send us another email on,
Okay,
thank you.
So item B, why don't we have Mark G talk about the meeting with the property owner and get us up to speed on that, as well as the most recent email that just came in today?
All right, can you guys hear me decently?
Yes,
Okay, so, I forget what day it was, but it was myself, Abby, Mike, Hood, I had a call with, two of the owners. So it turns out the realtors were wrong the whole time. Surprise, but there's actually three owners of the property, and they're in an LLC together as owners of actually multiple properties. This is just one of them. So anyway, we met with, one of the owners named Ted and his brother, I don't know his name. And we basically just gave them an overview of what we were hoping to achieve. The outcome of it was that we, followed up with an email asking them to give us essentially 120 days of exclusivity. So we can get a fair market assessment done or appraisal to get a price, because they need a price. And also we owe them a strategy for how the land trust is going to go about running the purchase. Because one of them was concerned about the grants, the existence of grants, and whether or not, what level of guarantees do you have with a grant? And if they're going to invest exclusivity for some amount of time beyond 120 days, they want to know a little bit about how the sausage is made and what the probability of success is at the end of the time period, you know. Which if you think about it from their point of view, it's kind of obvious, like, would you sign up to make a deal that's gonna take 18 months, not having a guarantee that it would even happen at the end of the 18 months? Probably not. So we owe them a strategy for that, and Mike described to them kind of a process of how it goes. And we basically left, I mean, by the way, Abby was fantastic during this meeting of like laying this all out and getting us to an answer. And we left the meeting, we gave them a sample of what to send back to us to confirm that they're willing to do 120-day period of exclusivity with the terms. And that's in the email inbox of all the folks that were, it's in yours too.
Yeah, I received it.
Okay, so just today, right before this meeting, and a couple hours ago, they gave us an email back saying, yes, they are on board with a 120-day period to do the stuff I just said, give them a price and come up with a strategy for how we actually execute it. Another note, like less logistical, is they were excited about the land becoming open space. And that whole proposition was attractive to them, you know.
Is it actively up for sale right now, or they take it off?
No, it's not on the market.
So, if it's not on the market, are they saying 120 days from when we sign something that we're gonna go ahead with this, or?
Well, no, they're just not gonna sell it for the next 120 days.
I mean, it's not up for sale.
Is what?
It's not up for sale anyway.
So the 120 days buys us time to get the appraisal. So we need to know how much an appraisal is going to cost. And that was something that Mike Hood was going to potentially reach out to the Council of Land Trusts, or the organization that's kind of the overarching for the state, to say, okay, who do folks typically use that are grant compliant for the open space water acquisition funding, if it goes in that direction. So we need to know how much that's going to cost. And then the other part of it is, once those costs are in place, we can apply for pre-acquisition funding. And it sounds like there's like a 2-week turnaround on a separate grant that could fund the appraisal. So the 120 days is to do one of two things. Definitely get the appraisals, or get, to figure out what the acquisition cost might be.
Yep.
Go to the land trust and at their meeting on the 28th, have them discuss the land trust position on the acquisition, and making sure that that's kind of all in place. And if we have a number for how much the appraisals are going to cost, and full buy-in from the land trust as a full body, then it enables a grant application to try to get some of those pre-acquisition costs covered. And if that grant isn't successful in a very short turnaround, it gives time to get onto the town council's agenda in December to ask for funding out of the Open Space Acquisition Fund to get the appraisals done. And then from there can figure out what the market value would be and a potential offer price. So that's kind of the next piece.
Yeah.
So that 120 days was pretty important.
Exactly.
Well, that's not, that's, I was just wondering, like, are they willing to wait, like, from the time that the application is sent in until the state of Connecticut decides if they're going to be awarded the grant, or just, because that could take many months.
It seems like if the price is right, they would.
Right.
So in this 120-day period, we're gonna produce a price, and that's gonna be what it takes.
Oh, I see.
Time on for the duration.
Because they will have to wait.
Yeah, we were very clear and very transparent about how long this could take.
Yes.
And
I don't know how long it took, I said it took a long time, do you remember how long it took to get an answer from them?
Close to a year and a half to 2 years.
Yeah,
yeah,
To get the final.
to get it finally, yes, awarded.
But the
and-
key here is, Mark, I think you discussed it with me, because I wasn't part of that conversation, but they were interested in, is what were we talking about purchase price? And Mark's response to fair market value. Well, what's that? So they want to know that first. So they're gonna give us 120 days where they don't sell the property to anyone, for us to spend the money to get two appraisals, and then to be able to come back to them with what is the fair market value that we're willing to offer. If they're in agreement with that, I think then the next stage is, okay, this is what the grant deadlines are, and how long it would be. Are you in agreement with that? I think that's the next step we have.
that's right, exactly.
Abby, is that your understanding, Abby, as well?
I'm sorry, they're both two people were talking at the same time, so it was a little tough to hear.
Oh, is that your understanding, that our discussion with them as to the actual full grant timeline will come after we have a price agreement with you?
Right, we're at an initial, there's sort of a threshold to clear of figuring out price and how we're going to pay to get that price. So there's two paths that we can take to fund the appraisals. And then the appraisals will inform what the offer might be. And at that point, then there's a discussion about if that price is amenable, and if folks can settle on the numbers, then the length of a potential agreement between the land trust and the owners would be the next point of discussion. So that's really, but until that price number is in with the appraisals, it's hard to know where things go. If the open space acquisition grant, if the state money were not on the table, and there were another means of funding it, or whatever else, then the time frame shifts a little bit, and the purchase price could be a little bit different. But the state grant is very clear on, you can't go over that fair market value. So getting to that number is a critical threshold.
Yeah, so we're really like producing a number within 120 days. If they like it and they think there's probability of success long term, then we're gonna end up asking them for another period of exclusivity to follow through with the whole thing. That's basically what's gonna happen. So I think Abby and I are gonna join the land trust board meeting on the 28th. Whatever, so
Fourth Tuesday of the month, so
yes, maybe the 28th, and we're gonna talk about this there, so we can get that strategy kind of piece that I was talking about. At least started the conversation.
Right.
Abby, did I miss anything, big picture you wanna cover?
No, I think the one big thing now is to make sure that someone, and I think we had left it with Mike, but as long as someone is tasked with finding appraisers who can tell us what they will charge to come up with this yellow book appraisal that would qualify for the state grant, we need 2 folks on board to give us numbers that we can say, yes, we need to go get these funds, whether it's from town council or applying for the the land trust council money that's out there right now that opened up on November 1st. We need that's really the fastest thing that has to happen, and hopefully within the next week or so. So I think settling now on who is making that ask, because come the 28th, assuming the land trust vote and consensus goes forward, then we need to actually engage with funding and get the appraisals going, because those can take a little while. We don't want to run out of that 120 days, so at least getting those numbers squared away very quickly is important.
So Mike
Yeah.
Castiglione,
Big next step. Big next step is to get appraisal.
so Mike, can you work with Mike Hood to get a couple appraisers that,
Sure. And we are looking at 2 different grants now. There's a transaction grant, and then there's the open space grant.
correct,
Mhm.
And I did read in the little bit the question had that the transaction grant could be a reimbursement, so it's possible, maybe Abby would know more about this, to go forward, pay some money and get reimbursed, sort of word reimburse.
Usually with the grants, you apply for it before you incur it. If you pay for it, then you go for the grant, you're not gonna get
Right,
it.
but that's for the,
Yeah.
the purchasing of the lake, of the open
Yeah,
space.
but usually for most grants.
Oh.
So if we put the cart before the horse, and we pay for the appraisal, we can't then go to see if we get that.
All right, right.
That's what I'm saying, it's
Right,
usual.
but, yeah.
well, I think we should be clear about that, because there's a lot of grants that have look back. And so that you can, basically, if you've applied and then you go purchase it, and then they award you the grant, you can get a look back and basically they'll pay for it, but we need to be clear.
Well, let me ask that, Abby, with regard to the open space acquisition grant, who has that, application? Do we have one?
I've got one.
Found out about.
Yeah, so the upfront the pre-acquisition costs just came open from the Land Trust Council, or I keep botching their name, but the Organization of Land Councils for the land trusts for the state has I think it's up to $20,000 per entity to apply toward these pre-development costs. And so what we would need is the appraisers quote to do the work, so that we could apply for the grants to fund that. And we could throw in the phase 1 and sort of the whole kit and caboodle in the grant, and sort of say, if you can't award us everything, at least give us the money to get the appraisals going. None of those pre-acquisition costs are eligible under the state's the open space, the actual transaction grant later on. So either way, whether we fund this pre-acquisition cost through a grant, through town council, or it's town council has to say, yes, we will front you the money if it's going to be reimbursed and will go back into that fund. Either way, that money we need to settle on that upfront money very quickly. And then the other one, everything is you can't close until you know that you're going to get the money. You gotta.
Okay, so to the extent that we're not gonna go to the town council to seek the money until we first know if we can get it from the pre-acquisition grant. My question.
Well, we need to know what we're asking for.
Right. We need to know, so. think
Oh,
about
okay,
it
so
this way.
that's why we want the appraisers first.
Yeah, you need,
Yes.
well, first of all, you need to know what the costs of the appraiser are. We can then apply for the grant. It's a rolling 2-week notification period. At the same time, we can go in front of the town council. They can't do anything until first meeting in December. because they're frozen now after the election until the new crew comes in. So first
Who
First
applies
meeting-
to the- Oh, go on. Go on.
first meeting in December, I've already asked Carl to get us on the agenda. We'll present what we're thinking about in terms of the property and the ask for, if we need it, the acquisition fees in terms of, whatever they are.
And who can apply for that? Are we gonna, is the town, the Conservation Commission / town gonna apply for that grant? Or is it gonna be the Clinton Lane Conservation Trust that applies for it, or both?
The
How would-
land trust would need to apply for those pre-acquisition funds. The land trust would also be applying for the transaction grant if it comes to that at the end. So that's why one of the things for the meeting for the land trust on the 28th, that's one of the pieces. So going into that meeting saying, here is the total anticipated upfront pre-acquisition cost that we will need. Here's what we can apply for with the land trust's consent for a grant to cover those costs. And then simultaneously, because the turnaround is so quickly, would need to happen so quickly, I can help support in grant writing, but it would be the land trust that would just basically take whatever I come up with and morph it into what you wanted to apply for that grant. The funds would go to the land trust. The land trust would hire the appraisers. That also allows us to work a little faster here because the town has, acquisition, procurement rules and all that kind of stuff. So it's, running this stuff through the land trust is a easier model, especially since that's the entity that would ultimately, if this is successful, own the property. So knowing what number we're asking for, both from the grant and from council, because it may be that because of timing, the grant gets submitted and the presentation to council happens with an ask for the same funds, with the understanding from council that the grant application is in and we're hopeful that we won't have to use them.
Yes, that sounds like a great strategy.
So that's in terms of, so Mike Hood and me, we went to talk to Carl to at least alert him that this was going on. I think I circulated the PowerPoint that we showed him. I got a lot of feedback from Abby and Larry and everybody. And so that PowerPoint sort of morphed into something that was easy for Carl to digest. I don't think he was overtly positive about it, but he wasn't overtly negative about it. He was very non-committal, as sort of like, okay, this is the process we need to go through. And it's very much what Abby just described. And so he filled us in on the fact that the town council was frozen in terms of what they could do now for the month of November. And so we'll wait till the new council is sworn in, and then we'll get in front of them first meeting. Carl did say he would get us on the agenda for that meeting.
Okay, and then let me ask this, to the planner, Abby, so, what's the drop dead date by which we have to get this before the council in order for them to put it on the capital expenditures for the year, what, 25? In other words, if the town is gonna contribute towards the purchase of the land, we'd wanna put them on notice now what we'd be expecting from the town, and then for them to see if they could put it on their capital expenditure for, I would assume it would be for, the year 25, and see if it fits in with the other expenditures?
Correct. So that, which is again, a different, potentially a different pot of money. So it depends on which pot you're using. If you are looking to use, so say for example, the pre-acquisition cost grant were successful and that, $13,000 or whatever it winds up being is something that doesn't come out of the open space acquisition fund, those monies are already available. So if a town, if it based on how the appraisals come back, if it's a modest ask, then, $10,000 out of that fund is a lot easier to go forward with. If you are thinking, and I think this is the conversation that we've had in the past, is that if it's going to be a separate capital request, that would be due at the December 4th deadline for budgets. So we would almost be putting in a bit of an arbitrary placeholder number. And then when the budget conversation happens between Nick and myself and Carl, there would be sort of a negotiation with him first to say, where does this fit in the entire scope of the capital budget for FY25? So I think, we can put a placeholder number in capital just to be on the roster for consideration. But until the appraisals come back, we don't know what that number looks like.
With regard to the placeholder, what I would suggest we do is we do something that would be comparable to what the town provided towards the purchase of the Weiss Loveday property, which I believe was $50,000. And I think that would be the placeholder that might be appropriate. I don't know, I put it out to the rest of the commission. What does everyone else think?
50,000 for,
For the town's contribution towards the purchase of the property.
because the grant will cover probably what, 40%?
Last time we were, it was somewhere around 40%. So if the property is, let's just say 180, which was the asking price, although that may not be fair market value, so it could be less. But if it's 180, and 40% of that's going to be paid, so you're looking at, let's say 40% is going to be grant money, so that would be 40,000 plus, let's see, 40% of 80 is 32, say around 72,000, I think. So 72,000 is going to be grant money from the state. And if they were to come up with the city, the town, 50, that's 130. That would leave another 50 to be paid by the land trust.
Yeah, that sounds.
Now, again, it may not be 50, it may be less, but what do you think, Abby, about that 50? Do you think that's too high? Because it is in line with what they contributed last time.
Yeah, that was 53.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you just, in the capital request, you're going to put in, and I think, the request will go into Carl, but council won't have seen it by the time you get to the December 6th presentation of the property. So I think as long as you explain, here are the various buckets we're asking about. Here's a placeholder number we've put in to, until we get the appraisals back, we can refine that through the budget process. But there's been a capital ask, which is again different from taking it out of the open space acquisition fund. So that, that capital money would be wrapped up in competing with all of the other projects and would have to go to the same budget votes and everything else versus the open space acquisition, which would just be, an endorsement from council and a vote, and that's it. So, you have a fallback if for some reason capital is less successful, there is money in the pot to put at this if it goes forward. So either way, you've got a couple paths, but I would, if you want to use 50 as a placeholder and, we can craft the ask to put in for the capital budget and submit it along with the commission budget, that's fine.
Yeah. I think that's probably, so we should probably take a vote on that. I hate to say that because it seems so early, but I think that given the reduced timing on this thing, we kind of need to have that amount in our budget.
Oh, your open space, you mean the open space part?
Yeah.
Well, we're not really talking about it being our budget as opposed to the town fitting it into their capital budget for 2025, which is probably when the purchase is going to take place.
Well, no, this would be July of 2024, correct? To July of 2025.
Well, if we're the next application for grants would probably be next fall, which would be in the fall of 2024.
Correct.
Wait for the state to make their decision on that. And they don't make that until everybody in the state applies for the grants. They determine how much is the overall money, how many are applying, and how much they can give to each.
It's usually May of the next year.
Yeah, so if it's May of the next year, it's May of 2025.
That's
I think
the
applying
24 budget.
Right. So applying for because once it's in capital, remember this, we're not talking about operating budget right now. We're talking about capital. And so if that money is designated in the capital budget for it is set aside for this purpose, it can carry over to the next year. So and it would make the grant application, I think, more competitive to say it's not that the town will consider funding a match, it's that the town already has money set aside at this level for a match. It's part of our application package, not something we have to ask for if the grant is successful. So I
Right.
think that will make us a lot more competitive because we would have the funding lined up.
It would be for the capital budget of 2024.
So
24,
it's
25.
right. It's the fiscal year
I know.
25, but the money would come available July 1 of 24. So when fall of 24 comes around, we could say we have a match in place. We have the money here. This is part of our capital stack of how this is all going to come together is the town's contribution here at whatever level that might be.
Okay, all right. So I would like to make a motion, that, we seek to use as a, placeholder, for the capital budget, that the town consider, using the figure of $50,000, for the capital budget in 2025 to be available in 2024.
Yeah, just the fiscal year of 2024 to 2025.
Okay,
Okay,
so I'd like to make the motion that the $50,000 be that placeholder figure.
all right. Do I have a second?
We're not on this.
Right.
So I need
This is
Mark.
This is how.
Yes.
I have a question about it, like, that sounds like a good number, but do we need to throw a number like that out on this initial period of getting the appraisal money? Like, or do we want to separate those two concerns,
Yes.
or are we already
Capital.
planning?
Well,
These
that
are,
may
yeah,
now
these are
probably
two
run-
different asks. These are
Yeah.
not
we
the
have to
same
make the
ask.
question, when do we have to do this placeholder by?
Yeah.
What is
The
our?
placeholder is
date?
due, so the budget is
Due-
due December 4th. So,
Right.
the paperwork for this ask would need to be to Carl alongside the budget. There's paperwork that goes along with the capital request. There's a form that you fill out. I can help with that. And then, Nick, you and I can kind of run through it and make sure
Yep.
the language of it and the description is what you want. But if the number is what the commission wants, then that goes forward as part of the budget timeframe. And it can, it could change over time. I mean, if the appraisals come back and they're wildly out of whack, or the owners say, no, we've changed at the end of the 120 days, we got a better offer from a solar battery storage kind of place, or whatever it is, a lot of things can happen along the way, but this is your chance to get on the list for the capital money.
Right.
The open space acquisition fund money that's already in place that you would be going on December 6th to ask for is not the same pot. And that is the one that you're saying we need money available to us to engage these two appraisers from whom the land trust has quotes. The town is going to fund the land trust to say yes and sign the paperwork to get the appraisals started so that work can continue so that you can get to a number. Different ask.
Okay, so the ask for the 50K is not gonna hold up the initial money for the appraisal.
No, it's
No.
just.
In that case, the second, your motion. I just didn't want it to be a roadblock to the initial acquisition of a price to have the
Right.
whole council decide on 50.
No, you're not asking for that 50 now. You're asking for that 50 to be included in the capital budget when Carl presents it.
Yeah,
Can I just, if you're gonna ask for a general vote, is this just for the subcommittee members, Sherry, or is
Yes.
this for the entire, okay? That's what I thought.
I mean, so the land trust can't necessarily vote on how the commission wants to make its budget
Yeah,
request.
I
So
think-
this is really
I
a
think this
it's
is
a question
vote
for the commission.
conservation.
Is this,
Because it involves
Yes.
the budget,
That's correct. Yeah.
so we should be voting, all of us.
I agree. I think it should be the
But
Clinton.
somebody
Okay.
made the motion and it was seconded, I guess now you ask
Okay, so we gotta say, I didn't hear the second, so,
that was the second.
Mark.
oh, okay,
I understood.
great. So all in favor of the motion to reserve 50,000 in the 2024-2025 budget in the capital budget? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
All opposed?
Question?
I have a question. I was wondering, like, since we don't have an appraisal yet, what if it appraises at 300,000? Then we might need more.
I think we need to cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah.
There are probably some ways that we could address it, but I don't know if we want to get into those tonight. There's some different things that we can do with the owners and part of a negotiation. At some point, some of the conversation that will be had once real numbers are on the table may wind up in an executive session to chat about. So we can talk about that too. But there are ways that we can work through that.
Yeah, and the owner seems like if they got 170,000, they'd be fine. So I think we're in reasonable territory here.
So,
Given the wetlands and slope and access costs and all that kind of stuff of the property, you know, I think that the 300 is probably going to be high if
Right.
Yeah.
So we have a vote on the floor. Is there anybody opposed? And is there any abstentions? Okay, so that
Those
motion
unanimous
carries.
in favor?
So with that motion being carried, Abby, since you're familiar with the capital request form, could you pursuant to that motion prepare on behalf of the Conservation Commission and the Conservation Commission's subcommittee for land acquisition, a capital request form for a $50,000 placeholder for the 2020-2025 budget?
I'll prepare it and then Nick, I'll run it by you for final set of eyes before it goes to Carl and off we go.
All right,
Thank you
good,
very much.
awesome. Okay. Guess what? I think that's the end of the meeting.
Before you adjourn, is it clear
One more.
who and by what time we'll have at least some context for appraisers to get the quotes for that
the
work?
two
Because that's
mics
the next really
and
big
myself.
piece.
The two mics and myself will work on
Okay.
getting that. In fact, I'll make some calls tomorrow. When would you like that by?
As soon as
So
possible.
the sooner we can get quotes for what the work would cost. And I think when you're talking to folks, it's important that they understand the 120-day sort of time frame the clock is already ticking on. So the sooner they can get, so we want
Yeah.
certainly, you know, if we can get a number before the land trust meeting on the 28th, I think that would be important.
Yeah, one other question.
Okay.
When's the day that we tell Carl that it has been appraised and the owner has? Because you guys talked to Carl before the owner came back and said they're on board for us. So we have to be able to pay the appraisers. When do we ask for that money? When's the
That's
date?
the
So that's
6th
not a
of
Carl
December.
thing, that's town council.
Okay, town council. I
So
thought
we'll
Carl-
have to go in front of them the first. I've asked Carl to get us on the agenda for the first meeting of the town council in December.
So which is also, I believe, December 6th, which is your annual meeting as a conservation commission. So there may need to be some playing with some of that business, or a special
The two mics
meeting.
and myself will get together and we'll make the calls and we'll find out. I'm hoping these appraisers, again, we'll have to get, what I'm gonna look for is appraisers that they use sometimes for tax, appeals. People who are well-known in the field. And I guess the question is, can they give me or give one of us an estimate of what the cost would be by us simply telling them it's 23.5 acres? Or are they gonna need a lot more detail, and in which event we have to hook them up with the owners?
I think
Now-
what would be helpful would be giving them the A2 survey and getting them onto the town's GIS, the public GIS site, and explaining, you know, sort of how to find this property on that site. And I'm happy to talk to any of them about that, so that at least gives them a place to start. And when they're talking about developable versus undevelopable area on the property, you know, we can certainly have a discussion. A lot of times the appraisers will come to our office anyway to find out some of this information. So we can talk to anybody as they're developing their scope, for what it will cost them to actually do the appraisal. So I think, you know, if the information you get to them is, here's the A2 survey, here is the zoning, here is the location, here, you know, here is the number of the town planner to talk to in terms of what might or might not be developable, you know, that would probably be enough for them, because again, they're providing you with a number of what it's going to cost them to do the appraisal, not what the appraisal is actually going to be at this point.
Exactly, okay, if they have any other questions, and you definitely want to work on it, can I refer them to you if they have a question on it?
Yep, just send them over.
Okay, so we'll get that before the CLCT meeting.
Yeah, it'd be great if it was well before, because then we can start formulating what we're gonna do with town council, so.
Exactly, we have to be, that's why I asked, so we have to ask the town council for an exact amount of money for these appraisals.
Yes.
Right, but there is an open space fund that's sitting there specifically for this purpose.
Oh, that's good.
And Carl said, hey, if it's coming out of a fund that's already sitting there, the town council is pretty amenable to that kind of stuff. So I think, you know, look, I'd much prefer that we get the grant. So what's great is as soon as you get the costs, we can put it into a request that theoretically will take 2 weeks for them to decide whether we get the grant or not.
Okay, all right, we'll do.
All right, great. All right, so I think we've come to the end of the meeting. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I've got a question, who's coming to the land trust meeting from the commission?
I think it's me and Patty, and you're already there.
I'm there along with the 2 months.
Yeah.
All right,
If I can make it, I will, but I'm traveling extensively this month.
One thing to start thinking about for whether it's any members of the land trust who haven't seen the property, or for town council, you know, if assuming we get to December 6th and a presentation, it would be wonderful to have pictures of the property. I know I have not had a chance to get out there. Others have. If anybody is going back out for any reason and take some pictures of, you know, that high grassy point or some of the wetland features or any of that kind of stuff, I think it would be nice to give them a little bit of a flavor and make it a little bit more tangible. So just putting it out there. It's not mandatory, but it does help.
I'll take some pictures.
I should test stuff. Already.
It'll be good though, now there's no leaves and you can see.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, these pictures are gonna be incorporated into the PowerPoint that Nick made. Nick, do you want us to send you the photos?
Yeah, please.
I'll email them all the stuff.
So I just have one other question, like after this 50,000 that we request to go into the capital budget, then when we need it, do we need further permission to take it? We had to get like 200 people here from the town. We had to have a town vote for $50,000.
Oh, yeah, no, we're not getting authorization for 50 from the town. We're just asking them, when you're planning your capital expenditures for the 2024-25 year, could you put this in as a possible? That
Right,
doesn't mean they're committed to it yet.
right,
We're gonna have to go before them, present, and then ask for a vote by the council.
By the council.
Whether or not they will authorize.
because now, what did they do? The charter just
It's
changed.
$700,000, so.
Yeah, I know that.
Well under
Well,
the-
it was 300, that's why I'm wondering why we had to have a town vote for 50,000 if it was 300. So, I don't know, if this
We
is
don't
a
think
different
that-
type of situation.
Town council, I think there's. Not town.
No, when we did,
Oh, when you
when
did
we
yours.
did ours, we had to go door to door, because it wasn't Facebook thing, we had to go door to door, have petitions signed, and get like 200 plus people to come to town hall and vote to let us have the $50,000.
Okay, I don't
Do
think
that
we
again.
put that. So again, I don't think that's gonna be the process if we have it in the budget. So it's critical we get it in the budget.
We have
And
to-
then, once it's in the budget, then it's just town council vote to release it.
Okay, just a town council vote.
And Nick, if we need.
Because it was
people-
in the budget that time too. Willie authorized it, but then we didn't get it.
Nick, if we need to get people here to vote for it, maybe we can offer them free compost.
Exactly. Not a problem. All right, guys. Can I get, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes. I will be sure.
Kathy?
All right.
Mary
All in
Jo, second.
favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. So I gotta tell you, this owl thing is pretty damn good. It actually.
Okay, you're still on tape. Let me stop the video. Oh, if I stop the video, I'm gonna lose you guys.
You can hit stop record. There's a little red button you can touch.
Yeah, anyway, it was great. Thanks a lot, guys. It sounds like we got a lot of work to do over the next couple months. Be ready and we'll go from there. Thanks.
Have a good night, everybody.
Night.